Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tech Tuesday. It is I, Matthew the Body Kemmetmueller, reporting to you live from the center of the volume photography universe, Minneapolis, Minnesota. If this Tech Tuesday feels very polished and refined and much better than the other ones you've seen over the past, it's because this is our second go at it, and I accidentally messed up the recording. So it is with much gratitude and a humble heart, I'd like to welcome back to the stage a good friend of mine, person who I have known professionally for quite a while and has helped me out in many situations, Matt Scoggin.
Hey, buddy. We didn't get to, in your defense, we didn't get that far into the recording, and it was not your fault.
That is exactly how we rehearsed it.
Yes, 100%. So it is, we'll have a quite polished first 10 minutes or so. I think it'll be good. But I appreciate you having me back. This is third time here, right? I think.
Yeah, you're alumni on this. Yeah. It's old hat, huh?
Do I get a pin that I can wear at SPAC?
You know, I don't know that we have done that yet, but I definitely feel like we should get Letterman jackets, and we should have a letter for Tech Tuesdays. And
I would bust out. I still have my high school Letterman jacket. If you get me a new patch, it's on there.
So all of you who do not know Matt, Matt is a good friend and is a big wig over at Got Photo. He's been with them for years and years and years. And as I was struggling to develop e-commerce, when we first started our business, we were still like paper envelopes, checks and envelopes, send it in, paper or orders delivered to the school in bulk. Got Photo was the company that originally got me out of my shell and out of the comfort of like what felt like the only way we knew how to do volume, and started the world of e-commerce providing for us. And Got Photo is a huge part of our success and our growth. When we grew from 7,000 heads to 100,000 heads, Got Photo was a massive partner in that for us. And so one of the things that we had talked about, though, that has always been as this company, because Got Photo isn't the oldest e-commerce provider in the space. So like us, you learn, you grow, you develop. And one of the things that I think Got Photo has always been exceptional. They've had a great metadata solution. They developed a great QR code system, which is what we relied on for years and years and years. And over the years, what we have seen requested by many people is a tethering option. And so Matt knew that was something that my studio had been researching and looking for, and let me know that Got Photo has some exciting news in the world of photography and tethering.
Absolutely. I appreciate the warm introduction. I am so looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time, as always. For those that don't know me, I'm Matt Scoggin. I'm with Got Photo. I'm head of business development in U.S. and Canadian markets. And Got Photo is an end-to-end market-leading solution, really geared towards e-commerce, right? The shop, the marketing platform, as Matt mentioned. But we had that gap, as he mentioned, where we weren't satisfying all the needs, and the opportunity came up with the person I'm about to introduce to explore, and it was just the right partnership at the right time to bring a mature, stable tethering solution that could also support on-site IDs for the US and Canadian market. I'd love to bring Greg to the stage.
Yeah, let's welcome Greg. Greg, welcome to Tech Tuesday.
Thanks very much. So I'm Greg Hodson with Holsys. We've been in the high volume schools photography sector for since the late 90s. We cater to the high volume end of the market. We've got on-prem software for, I guess, the enterprise. We do have some smaller customers, but the end-to-end from capture through workflow, and we have been partnering up with Got Photo with some of our customers in the UK. They use Got Photo for their e-commerce, but use Holsys for the workflow, orders, and then fulfillment as well. So it's really, for us, it's all about the on-prem and the workflow through to fulfillment. We've got multiple capture solutions, and one of those capture solutions is a tethered solution, and Matt obviously got in touch with us, and we've been talking for the last few months about how we could integrate that directly into GotPhoto via their API, pulling data from GotPhoto and then pushing images back to GotPhoto. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I got a couple of questions for that, I guess. I'm going to start with you, Matt. One of the things I think that is unique about GotPhoto is I think that GotPhoto tends to be a little bit more open with their API usage and inviting other people to kind of partner into that. And I guess my first question to you is like, what was the biggest problem that GotPhoto was trying to solve with this integration and this this relationship?
I mean, I think you, as you mentioned, in our pre-conversation, right? You're rapidly growing business, right? You realize you don't have the resources to do everything, or if you try to do everything, you don't do everything well. And so we've, over the past year and a half or so, realized what we're great at, and that's e-commerce, but we wanted to continue to expand in the capture space, and recognized with our API that we can go find the best people out there and work with them and tie it together towards a seamless solution. That way we're not pulling resources from what could be our core competencies or our unique selling propositions, and allow Greg and his team to focus on what they do best. And that was kind of the core of it. We knew we were lacking in some markets where we couldn't. I know California, I think Colorado as well. There's where they have to provide on-site IDs. It's not a question. It's not a negotiation. It just has to be. And so
I'm so glad we have not had to hit that in Minnesota yet. So Greg, walk me through a little bit more of your software. And I guess like completely ignorantly, I don't know anything about it. So can you give me a breakdown on kind of what solutions your software provides to the photographer?
Okay, well, so MaxLab is our flagship product, which is aimed at the photography operation, and it allows the capture solutions to feed into an on-prem database. So MaxLab itself it's not really what we're here to talk about today, but that is the core. That's our flagship, really. And that's an on-site digital asset management system. It does advanced rendering using data-driven systems, so memory mates, class composites, graduate journey products, graduate keepsakes, services to schools, whether it's the ID cards, student directories, or the images that they need for their database systems. All of that type of thing is what we do. That's our kind of bread and butter, as well as the printing and production side of things. So that's what our flagship does. Flagship product is.
And to shamelessly plug it for Greg, if you're a self-fulfiller in the States and are looking for a solution, definitely check out Houses.
Yes, my question for you is I got lucky, not this past summer, but the summer before. I got to go out to Coventry, and we went to was it UClick or Click Live? It was Charlie's convention, and I got to meet a lot of like school photographers from the other side of the pond, and it was really interesting to kind of talk and connect with people, because the market's really, there are a fair amount of differences between it. When you guys were kind of working on this, were there any big hurdles or regulatory things or things you had to change or work around to get a US version ready? Or did you kind of already have that set up the way it needed to be, Greg?
For ID Studio specifically, there wasn't really anything, because I mean, obviously the data GDPR in Europe and the UK is a big thing. I know that in the States, each state treats that slightly differently, but that that side of things is not really, doesn't impact ID Studio as much, because because it's installed on a laptop. It's kind of, I guess, offline to well, it is offline apart from the connections into GotPhoto. In other areas, there's I guess there's a number of differences in the market. Obviously, yearbooks are massive in the US. They're not that big in the UK as yet. Those companies those schools in the UK that are doing yearbooks, it's normally handled by parents associations, and it's kind of almost a separate industry from the school's photography side.
Okay.
We do have, MaxLab does have, is it the PSPA output?
Yeah. Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously that's been around for years, and we have had users request that. So MaxLab can actually do that kind of output, and as well as various other exports and imports. And it's kind of like, obviously, as you'd expect, it's a data-driven flow. There's a lot of data inputs and outputs that you can do.
On our side, there was sort of three big pieces that we looked for. Was the data that Greg just talked about, right? The working in the EU, that very much aligned with GotPhoto's core German roots. And then there was the ID functionality, where, with the goal of making it easier for photographers, we wanted it to be lightweight. And what was great about their solution, it was plug and play. Just any ID solution, you plug it in. The render engine, you just tell it what size you want, and it's going to send the file. So it could be, whether it's a Zebra or a Zinnias, Primacy, any of those type of printers, it's just going to work. And we had to modify, they had this great favoriting functionality. And as Greg talked about with the yearbooks, like, wouldn't that be great? Like, let's go ahead and use that to bring that into GotPhoto as the yearbook selection. And then you can define, do I want to default to the first image or the last image? As you know, photographers think about that very differently, right? They always, some just will adamant that it's always the last image. Some, it's always the first, and you can just set it and it flows right in.
The first, the other people are wrong. It's fine. They can be wrong.
First.
It's always the first.
The smile gets worse.
It's always the first. I use it in negotiation tactics, where if they want to make a goofy face or something silly, then I say, let me get my shot first.
Yes.
Then we can talk about your stuff. So I always make sure I get mine. It's always the first one. But
it's always the first.
Some people want to hold true to something that might not be the best.
We're first truthers.
So I guess here's another question for you. I guess I think my studio was very unique to GotPhoto just because of how much growth we had so quickly. And I think we went we were on a rocket ship of growth. So I think that there were definitely
still are, I think.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I think we're going to hit about a 20% growth for next year.
Love it.
In our schools, and so it's looking good. We're doing good, and I'm grateful for that. But I think one of the things that I realize is when you meet with different labs and different software companies and different yearbook producers and anyone within this industry, I think that some people, the solutions that will help my business might not help somebody who is a single photographer photographing 8 to 10 schools. You know what I mean? I guess this partnership, who are we trying to help the most? Like what studio would be looking at this and say, aha, this is the perfect solution? What does that business look like?
Absolutely. So that is the school photographer focused on more in the small number of images, right? A few images of each kid. You can absolutely do proofing, but it's geared towards, I always hate to use the word traditional, but it's that iconic, that great legacy school shot, and that I need to deliver that on-site ID right then and there. So that for us, right, it's that sweet spot of a company that has grown, scaled like yours, and looks to continue that growth, where they've reached that threshold of growth, and maybe are having to expand territories, expand into different segments, but they may have been in multi-pose proofers, and now like, oh, I've got some public schools. Well, now I got to approach that different, right? I was all about preschools and private schools, and you can leverage it for any type of photography. But when we approached Greg, it was very much that core school market, because we knew that was a gap on the GotPhoto platform.
Yeah. So Greg, I know that we were talking specifically a lot about the on-site IDs. So like, I remember when I was exploring that as an option, and I looked at how different photographers did it kind of all around the country. And some of them might photograph on, a blue screen or a gray screen. And the ID photo would just be the JPEG rendered out of the camera. And other people would have a more robust software where it would still do a background knockout and put it on they would do a backdrop swap. Are you guys, the IDs that we're rendering, is it doing backdrop swaps, or is it doing the image straight out of the camera?
Yeah, it's funny you should ask. We have a very basic knockout, but it only works for the low res image. It only works for the but even there, I would say it's not. Yeah, it's not really aimed at that.
Okay.
But we have had the requirement. Yeah, we have had the requirement, and we have put something in. But obviously, we're quite an agile company, as Matt will find. In fact, Matt, we've probably haven't been as agile recently.
But there's new stuff coming. We got SPAC releases, which we're excited to show on the SPAC floor.
Yeah. So when there is development, we've been able to implement things like that. So it's doable. We've had the requirement. We've put something in that was good enough for that particular customer, but I wouldn't.
Well, and I also think
something I would go shouting about, because I don't think I don't think it'll be good enough necessarily for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's probably fair, but I also think it's like, it's an ID photo that you are requiring me to produce instantaneously for a consumer. And so I think like that for us has always just been such a daunting idea, and not even worried about anything else that makes it more complicated. Just being able to have a process to produce that live is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. And one of the things we learned working with Greg and his team was that the core render engine wasn't built for IDs in mind. It's not much of a requirement in the UK or EU market. They built them for on-site proofing. So there's a lot of fun exploration as we've demoed and betaed and talked to photographers this fall, right, where it sort of gets their wheels spinning. Like, oh, I could print an 8x10 contact sheet, do 5x7s. I can get super creative with Layout Designer and not just do IDs.
Yeah, I think another thing that would be interesting to kind of hear about, Greg, is I think as a photographer, I used to just be a photographer. As somebody who has a lot of photographers who work with me, one of the things I like to check is are there guardrails involved, and like how hard is this? Like realistically, is this software a big lift to train in someone? Are there ways for them, like what are the ways that I can make sure that I can guide my employees in the right direction with it? And how big of an uptick is the training?
I can comment on that one, but maybe Matt can actually expand a bit, because his experience with photographers is better than mine. But from our experience so far, we've got a number of users, and most of them, or a number of them, are 30 to 50 photographers, and so that's of primary importance to them, to make sure that you've got a process-driven software that guides everybody to work in the same way. The way that the software is built, we can configure it so that it goes out and gets installed on 50 laptops exactly the same way. It is hugely configurable software, and obviously you got to be careful that you don't then allow that to get out of hand. So it's configurable, but lockdownable, if I can use that.
Important. piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
As Greg mentioned, regardless of what, I think you'll agree, like regardless of the capture method you're using, I mean, just the workflow in general, it needs to be repeatable at scale. And that's where.
But yeah, and I also think kind of the root of it too, that he was just talking about, that you can install everything on 50 computers. God, just to make sure that everything's installed the same. And that's why we're so big on having camera kits where it's the same light companies,
Absolutely.
it's the same transmitters, it's the same cameras. And the one thing I wish, and we were never big in volume back when it was like the Canon had the 7D studio version.
7D, yeah, that was the late 2000s, early 2010s, I think.
Yeah, I was broke as a joke then. I couldn't afford that camera. And so, but I remember what, like, from a scaling point of view, I was like, gosh, you can lock down how many photos they take. You can lock down the ISO. You can lock down the shutter speed. And that was always something that, and Jessica, who works with us.
Yeah.
Greg, you've not met Jessica. Jessica is she's a badass. And she's very like, if this is the way that things need to be done, she needs to make sure it's done in that manner. And so I think some of those, making sure that it's an easily trainable, and also that you can keep people in their lane, that's a big thing for us. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So it absolutely, like that install, everyone's seeing the exact same data, that whole process through, so that it's repeatable. We love it. Awesome. We're excited to see its use.
Yeah, you mentioned like people getting creative, contact sheets, layouts, proofs. How do you let, like, I guess I'm the other thing that I was talking about, like how we kind of have stuff. How do you allow people to have that creativity without also letting it kind of become chaotic within the software?
Yeah, that's where as I mentioned, Layout Designer, and Greg, if you want to touch on this as well, it's a lightweight template designer, sits to the side. If you've got 30, 50 photographers, right, they never use Layout Designer. Here's the templates to use, right? Yeah. Here's ID card 1, ID card, however many there are, or the proofs, and you delegate it out that way. Is the safest way as far as the lockdown, right? I would at a size that y'all are moving towards and continue to scale at, I would not let the photographers use Layout Designer.
Gotcha. And the other thing that I think is kind of like an important thing to point out, and I just want to double down on, is, Greg, you said this is completely operates offline. So I don't have to worry about having an internet connection. I don't have to worry about being connected to the network to be able to have access to everything.
No, you use it completely offline and then sync it up afterwards, before and afterwards.
Yeah. And it still allows data manipulation, right? You can change names, add subjects. Early days, we went back and forth on the logistics of it, right? If they're in a bad spot in a gym, built out of cinder blocks, we didn't want images and data not showing up where it needs to be. So they're working locally. There's redundancy locally, and then when they're done, they publish it into GotPhoto.
Gotcha. That's exciting, because I think that's like always the biggest concern, especially when you're trying something new, is it's like, and with school photos, when you just absolutely, it's a real bad look when you have to go to a school and say, I don't know who these 85 kids are. Can you help me sort out who these 85 children are and where they go? And God have mercy on your soul if it's on an open house day. And so it doesn't even have any rhyme or reason on like what grade or order they're coming down. And then you're really in for it.
I think all industries, and we're guilty of it as well, we love to over-engineer things. And when it comes to school photography, having come from the space as well, right? Redundancy and durability and consistency. It doesn't have to be the flashiest, newest technology. The principal just wants to have a smooth picture day, and they want the data to match. As you said, they don't want you showing up hat in hand saying, please help me match half these kids.
That's funny. I actually was talking to a school the other day. We were talking to a new district, and I said, I understand that shopping a new vendor can be like really hard and difficult. And I said, we promise to make it boring.
Right. That's
we promise this is going to be boring for you.
It should be fun boring, right? Like, it's like, That's like the parents should be the ones having the great experience. The kids should be the ones having the great experience. And if all of the workflow pieces are boring and always working, that's how you succeed in volume. That's why you've had such great growth, I'm pretty sure, right? Like,
we were, I mean, truth be told, our company has a complete and total perfect storm of the right product at the right time, with the right gap in the industry, with the right hires of people that care, with the right, like, it's this company 10 years ago wouldn't have grown as fast as it had. This company 10 years in the future might not grow as fast as it has. There's a lot of environmental influences that helped us out an awful lot, and that's certainly not wasted on me. Like, we're grateful for it. But
yeah, you have a great team.
Greg,
I've been fortunate enough to get to hang out with them a few number of times, and I always enjoy it. They're great people.
So Greg, I think if I was a photographer who wasn't shooting tethered, and I was looking at this, and I think this might be the year for me to try this and go down this road. My question to you is, what do you think is the biggest road, like, I don't want to say roadblocks, the biggest hiccups, the biggest things that you would advise someone to make sure that they really understood and got trained in and had dialed in to make the jump to go tethered? And then also, when they make that jump, what's the biggest advantages that they're going to reap by making this switch, I guess? Like, so I have to be prepared in this way, and when I am prepared in this way and I make this jump, here's how it's going to benefit us.
Well, a couple of good questions. I think it's interesting because from our perspective, we're never pushing tethered. We're listening to what the market's saying, and we see people out there who want to shoot tethered, and they've got reasons for doing that, and the reasons are, ID printing. The reasons are they want to see the images live while they're shooting. Sometimes the reasons are even they just want to look impressive to the school. They want to be there, and yeah,
that'll make you look more legit. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. They obviously you don't want to be showing those pictures to school kids and slowing everything down, but being able to see what's going on. We've heard people say that if there's teams, the training aspect is very positive. You can have a senior photographer maybe looking over the shoulder of a junior photographer and seeing what they're actually shooting on the screen. You've got process driven, as we've talked about. You can do a gray card check, and then that gray card will actually, the image and the values will actually be saved with the job, things like that. In terms of the pitfalls, things that normally trip people up it's always the same, right? It's having the additional equipment to have to worry about. It's having a USB cable that cost a couple of dollars is the weak point. It's crazy. Or so whereas QR codes, you as long as you got that camera in your hand and you've got a QR code, you've got that solid record. So but there's swings and roundabouts, and that's why we're more like reacting, I guess, to what the market wants and what individual photographers want. And some of them want to shoot tethered, and some absolutely don't want to be dealing with that extra equipment.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the funny thing, you were talking about the USB cable. I can remember my old man was a photographer. I took over his company, and my dad used to be like a big wedding photographer, and I can remember him just driving home the importance of having a backup sync cord. And he used to always say that's what breaks on your shoot. That's what breaks, and it ruins everything that you have planned for the whole day if you can't sync your camera to your flash. And so I think it's hilarious now that I'm talking to somebody in 2025, and it's like you have to have your sync cord, your USB cord. It's the same stuff my dad drove home 30 some years ago to all the guys that were working here.
Absolutely.
Just a little sad story as well. I mean, we don't only work in the schools industry. We've been working in the cruise industry for 20 years as well, and we also did a special project for Vail Resorts. So they were running 125 photographers over 7 resorts, and wow. the manager. So we did a Windows mobile based system for them. We're going back a decade now, and it had one of those Motorola Windows mobile devices that you see in retail all the time with a barcode scanner on the front.
Oh yeah.
They were using RFID for the lift ski passes, and they had this kind of cup connector that goes on the bottom of it, and then that connected into the camera. So they were taking pictures, but now they're in some really cold environment. You know, connections go, batteries go, and the director of photography who was managing those 125 photographers, by the end of that, but a couple of years into that project, he was just like, no, I just want to take the pictures and then sync them all up afterwards, because, you know, it was great for Vail Resorts at the time. They had this, you know, it was a big marketing drive. They're doing Epic Mix photo. They're rolling it out. You take the picture, it's on Facebook in 30 seconds. And that was the big marketing drive that they were doing. And they achieved it. But the cables, that was where all the problems were. So
I think that's where tethering just works so well in I would air quotes, controlled school environment, right? Where you can set up the station, lock everything down, have all your cables, right? If you got tether tools, the jerk stoppers, all that sort of stuff to keep everything.
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is it's sad but true and needs to be said again and again, is like, who this is not good for is the person who hasn't taken the time to research and prep it and test it before they get live and in the field.
Absolutely.
It's like, and I think that's true for most things in the photography world. It's like, if you're going to get out and shoot off camera flash for the first time ever, and you've never done it with a customer before, it might be a struggle for you. You might not understand how it works. And so, so I think that's great. I think I just kind of want to take one last kind of chance to wrap this up. So now that Got Photo has this tethering solution, which I'm sure we're going to be able to demo and see live at SPAC.
Yes, we'll have multiple stations, multiple Evolus printers set up. You know, running it. Greg, are you making it over?
Yeah.
Perfect. Greg will be there too.
Unless anything goes. Unless anything happens, like last year, Max was meant to join me and he got sick the night before. But unless anything goes wrong, we'll be there.
Perfect.
It's one of my favorite weeks of the year for sure, Greg. But I think well, let's kind of wrap up again. The people who should really be excited to come over and check this out for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I mean that.
Yeah, the people we're targeting is going to be people who are looking at growing into tether, people that might want to experiment with that, studios that have grown into a market where you're going to need on-site ID printing. I'm always excited to get in and kind of click the buttons around and see what it looks like, Greg. So be prepared for a lot of my dumbass questions as we work our way through that. And I guess, is there anything kind of as we wrap it up that you guys want to make sure we talked about, anything we didn't cover?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make sure it's available for all photographer types. We know the focus is where it's at, but with the yearbook selection, the built-in culling, I know Greg, y'all are working on cropping as well, if that's something that's delegated to the photographers or they're a smaller operation and want to crop on site. And my favorite thing for those process-oriented on-site IDs is, this isn't new technology, but we're packaging it in and should be there for SPAC, is the dynamic IT cards, right? Where you scan a code or click a name, and based on their grade or whatever field you define, it switches to that correct template, right? It was something we struggled with at the company I worked for, those mega high schools where they're like, we've got 12 designs. And
I love that. I love that.
The best.
I love it.
But that's so hard for a photographer, especially a photographer that may be seasonal or contract, right? To remember, like, oh, who's sitting down and I'm switching over to the right template. Well, if if we're an organized studio, let's data drive that. Let's make it dynamic so that the photographer can focus on taking great pictures and not being a tech.
I love it, man. I'm excited for you guys. Greg, I want to thank you for hanging out on your first Tech Tuesday ever. I look forward to seeing you in Vegas. I know you said maybe, probably. I'm just going to believe in my heart of hearts, so that's an absolute. And I will see you at the end of January. I will be the big chubby guy with great hair. And Matt, I love you, buddy. I can't wait to see you there too.
Also, sir, love you, man.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right.
And thanks for
talking with
tuning in for another Tech Tuesday, all you guys out there in Internet Wonderland. We will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.